Your mind is the most powerful tool you own. Right now, at this very moment, you have the ability to change your life completely. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's the ability to force their brain to do hard things when everything inside says stop. Think about the last time you faced something difficult. Remember that feeling in your stomach? That voice telling you to take the easy road, that's your brain's automatic response. It's designed to keep you safe, comfortable, and exactly where you are. But success and growth never happen in your comfort zone. Dad spent over 4 decades studying successful people. I've interviewed thousands of high achievers, and I've found one consistent pattern. They all trained their brains to push through resistance. They developed the mental muscle to do what others won't. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do the same thing. Your brain is like any other part of your body. It can be trained, strengthened, rewired. You can literally force it to embrace challenge instead of running from it. This isn't just motivational talk. It's backed by science, proven by results, and I'm going to walk you through the exact steps to make it happen in your life. When you finish listening today, you'll have practical tools to overcome mental resistance. You'll understand how to push through when tasks seem overwhelming, and you'll have a clear path to building the mental toughness that separates extraordinary people from everyone else. Let's talk about why your brain resists hard things. It's not because you're lazy or incapable. It's because your brain has one primary job: keep you alive. And for thousands of years, that meant conserving energy and avoiding unnecessary risks. Your brain consumes about 20 of our body's energy while making up only 2 of our body weight. It's an energy-hungry organ. So when you approach a difficult task, your brain immediately looks for ways to save energy. It sends signals of discomfort, boredom, or fear. It creates distractions and excuses. These aren't character flaws. They're built-in survival mechanisms. Here's the problem. We no longer live in a world where conserving energy is necessary for survival. We live in a world where mental growth, learning, and adaptation are the keys to success. Your brain's natural tendency to avoid hard work is now working against you. Think about what happens when you sit down to learn a new skill. After 10-15 minutes, you feel the urge to check your phone. Your mind wanders. You suddenly remember other important tasks. This isn't random. It's your brain's resistance system at work. The comfort zone feels good in the moment. It's predictable, safe, and requires minimal effort. But it's also where dreams go to die. Nothing remarkable ever comes from staying comfortable. And deep down, you know this already. When you avoid mental challenges, you pay a price far greater than you realize. Each time you back away from something difficult, you're not just avoiding a task. You're reinforcing a pattern that will limit you for life. I once worked with a talented young manager named Michael. He had all the potential to become a corporate leader, but whenever he needed to have difficult conversations with team members, he would postpone them. Each time, he told himself he would do it tomorrow when he felt more prepared. 3 years later, Michael was still in the same position, while his peers had been promoted multiple times. The cost of avoiding those hard conversations wasn't just temporary discomfort. It was his entire career trajectory. This happens in every area of life. The person who avoids the discomfort of exercise loses their health. The entrepreneur who avoids the challenge of sales calls loses their business. The couple who avoids difficult conversations loses their relationship. Small acts of mental avoidance compound over time into major life limitations. They become invisible walls that keep you trapped in a life that's far below your potential. And the worst part? Most people never realize what they're sacrificing. The good news is that your brain has incredible capabilities that most people never tap into. The science of neuroplasticity has shown us that your brain can form new connections and pathways throughout your entire life. It can adapt, grow, and rewire itself based on your experiences and choices. Think about London taxi drivers. Research has shown that they actually develop a larger hippocampi, the brain region responsible for spatial memory, after years of navigating London's complex streets. Their brains physically changed to meet the demands they placed on it. Or consider people who have recovered from strokes that damaged large portions of their brains. Many regain functions as their brains create new pathways around the damaged areas. The brain's ability to adapt is remarkable when pushed to do so. You've experienced this yourself on a smaller scale. Remember learning to drive? At first it required intense concentration. You had to consciously think about every movement. Now you can drive while having a conversation or listening to an audio book. That's because those driving skills have been hardwired into your brain through repetition. Your brain has the same capacity for growth in any area you choose to develop, whether it's learning a new language, mastering public speaking, understanding complex data, or building emotional intelligence. Your brain can strengthen those pathways if you consistently push it to do so. Now let's talk about specific strategies to force your brain to do hard things. The first is what I call the 5-second rule. This isn't about food dropped on the floor. It's about acting quickly before your brain has time to build resistance. When you have an impulse to do something challenging, like getting up early to exercise, making that difficult phone call, or starting that project you've been avoiding, count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then move immediately. This countdown acts as a starter pattern that interrupts your brain's habit of hesitation. Here's why it works for us. Your brain processes decisions in two ways. The emotional brain reacts instantly with feelings of fear or resistance. The rational brain takes longer to engage but can override those feelings. The 5-second countdown bridges the gap between these systems, giving your rational brain time to take control before resistance sets in. I've seen countless people transform their lives with this simple technique. A woman I coached used it to finally start the business she'd been dreaming about for years. Each morning, she'd count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then make 5 sales calls before her brain could come up with excuses. Within 6 months, she had enough clients to quit her job. The key is immediate physical movement. Don't just count down and think about acting. The countdown must trigger physical action every single time. This creates a new neural pathway that bypasses resistance. The second strategy is deliberate habit formation. Your brain operates largely on automatic programs we call habits. These automatic behaviors require very little mental energy, which is why your brain loves them. By intentionally creating habits around difficult tasks, you can make them automatic and bypass resistance entirely. The key to habit formation is understanding 3 parts: the trigger, the routine, and the reward. The trigger is what initiates the behavior, the routine is the behavior itself, and the reward is what makes your brain want to repeat the cycle. For example, if you want to develop a daily writing habit, you might set your trigger as sitting at your desk with a cup of coffee at 6 a.m. The routine is writing for 30 minutes. The reward might be checking off your progress in a tracker and feeling accomplishment. Research suggests it takes about 21 days of consistent practice for simple habits and up to 66 days for more complex ones. During this formation period, you'll need to consciously push through resistance. But once established, habits require minimal mental energy. Your brain will actually begin to crave the routine. I recommend starting with one hard thing and turning into a habit before adding more. Many people fail because they try to change too many behaviors at once. Focus on making one difficult thing automatic, then move to the next. Remember, small, consistent actions create powerful neural pathways. A daily 5-minute habit will create stronger pathways than an occasional 2-hour session. Consistency matters more than intensity when rewiring your brain. The third strategy involves visualization techniques. Top athletes have used this method for decades, and neuroscience now confirms its effectiveness. When you vividly imagine yourself performing a difficult task, your brain fires many of the same neural pathways that activate during the actual activity. This creates what scientists call mental models, frameworks in your brain that make the real action feel familiar when you actually do it. Olympic athletes often report that their gold medal performances felt like they were simply executing what they'd already practiced thousands of times in their minds. To use this technique effectively, spend 5-10 minutes each day visualizing yourself successfully completing your challenging task. Make the visualization as detailed as possible. See the environment, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, engage all your senses. If public speaking terrifies you, visualize yourself walking confidently to the stage. See the audience responding positively. Feel the sense of calm and control as you deliver your message flawlessly. Your brain begins to accept this as a possible reality rather than a threat. A student of mine used this technique to overcome severe test anxiety. Before each study session, she would visualize herself calmly taking the exam, knowing the answers and feeling confident. Her test scores improved by 23 in just 1 semester. The fourth strategy is breaking down overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable parts. Your brain gets overwhelmed when facing complex challenges. This triggers the stress response, which actually reduces access to your prefrontal cortex. the thinking part of your brain that solves problems. Instead of trying to tackle the entire mountain at once, focus on the first step, then the next, and the next. Each small completion gives your brain a hit of dopamine, the reward chemical which builds momentum. I call this chunking, and it's how all great achievements happen. Books are written one page at a time. Businesses are built one customer at a time. Weight loss happens one meal at a time. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I decided to write my first book, I felt completely overwhelmed. I had never written anything longer than a few pages. So I broke it down, outline one chapter per day, then write 3 pages per day. No more, no less. This simple approach has now helped me complete over 80 books. What's the smallest possible step I could take right now? Then take that step. Your brain responds much better to progress than perfection. The 5th strategy is creating accountability systems. Your brain is highly responsive to social commitments. When you know someone else is watching or expecting results, you're far more likely to push through resistance. There are many ways to build accountability. You can hire a coach, join a mastermind group, find an accountability partner. Make public commitments. Use apps that track your progress. The specific method matters less than having something external that holds you to your commitments. The most successful people I've worked with all use some form of accountability. They understand that willpower alone isn't enough. They need systems that keep them on track when motivation fades. Consider the difference between people who try to quit smoking on their own versus those who join programs with group support and regular check-ins. Studies consistently show that the group approach has significantly higher success rates. This isn't because those people have more willpower. It's because their brains respond to the social commitment. I recommend creating at least 2 forms of accountability for any difficult task you're trying to master. One should be technological tracking apps or scheduled reminders, and one should be social involving other people. This dual approach addresses both logical and emotional motivations. The 6th strategy focuses on reward mechanisms. Your brain is constantly evaluating whether actions are worth the energy they require. By intentionally creating rewards for difficult tasks, you can shift this calculation in your favor. The key is to create immediate rewards for behaviors that have long-term benefits. For example, saving money has long-term benefits but feels like a sacrifice in the moment. To make it easier, you might create a visual tracker that gives you immediate satisfaction as you watch your progress, or allow yourself a small, affordable treat each time you add to your savings. The timing of rewards matters enormously. The reward must come immediately after the behavior for your brain to make the connection. A reward that comes days later won't create the same neural pathway. Be careful about the types of rewards you choose. Food rewards can create unhealthy associations. Expensive rewards can undermine financial goals. The best rewards are often experience-based, like taking a walk in nature after completing a difficult task, or achievement-based tracking streaks or milestones. One technique I recommend is the reward sandwich. Place a difficult task between 2 activities you enjoy. For example, if you have a challenging report to write, start with 10 minutes of your favorite music, then work on the report, then allow yourself to check social media for 5 minutes. This makes the difficult task feel less isolated and more part of a rewarding flow. Now let's talk about the discomfort challenge. This is a more advanced technique where you deliberately seek out difficult tasks specifically to build mental toughness. Start by identifying activities that make you mentally uncomfortable but aren't harmful. This could be taking cold showers, having conversations with strangers, trying new foods, or learning skills completely outside your comfort zone. Then create a weekly challenge where you deliberately do one uncomfortable thing. Start small and gradually increase the difficulty. The goal isn't the activity itself, but rather teaching your brain that discomfort is survivable and often rewarding. Navy SEALs use a similar technique called misery practice, where they intentionally create difficult conditions during training. This isn't about punishment. It's about expanding their capacity to function during stress. You can apply the same principle on a smaller scale. A business executive I worked with feared public speaking. He started his discomfort practice by asking one question at every meeting he attended. Then he volunteered to give short updates. Eventually, he joined Toastmasters. Within a year, his fear had transformed into confidence. Now, he regularly speaks at industry conferences. The discomfort challenge works because it separates discomfort from danger in your brain. Most things we avoid aren't actually dangerous. They're just uncomfortable. By voluntarily experiencing discomfort in controlled situations, you teach your brain this crucial distinction. Even as you implement these strategies, you'll encounter mental barriers. Let's talk about how to overcome them. Fear is the first and most common barrier. Your brain is wired to avoid anything it perceives as threatening. But in modern life, most of our fears aren't about physical dangers. They're about social rejection, failure, or looking foolish. The key to overcoming fear is exposure. Gradual, repeated exposure to what you fear without negative consequences teaches your brain that the threat isn't real. Start with small exposures and gradually increase the intensity as your comfort grows. Self-doubt is another major barrier. This often manifests as the imposter syndrome, the feeling that you're not qualified or capable despite evidence to the contrary. This happens because your brain has a negativity bias. It gives more weight to potential problems than to capabilities. Combat self-doubt by keeping a success journal. Each day, write down 3 things you did well or problems you solved. Over time, this creates a record that your brain can't dismiss. When self-doubt arises, review your past successes as concrete evidence of your capabilities. Perfectionism can also prevent action. Many people won't start until conditions are perfect or they feel completely ready, but this is a trap. Perfect conditions rarely arrive. The antidote to perfectionism is adopting what I call the 80 rule. When you're 80 ready act, most successful people throughout history didn't wait until everything was perfect. They started with what they had and improved along the way. Another technique for pushing through mental barriers is the future self method. When facing resistance, imagine your future self looking back at this moment. What would your future self want you to do? This creates psychological distance that helps you make better decisions. Building long-term mental toughness requires consistency above all else. It's better to do something challenging for 15 minutes every day than for 3 hours once a month. The frequency of repetition matters more than duration when it comes to rewiring your brain. This is the principle of compound effect. Small, consistent actions may not seem significant in the moment, but they create massive results over time. Just as compound interest transforms modest savings into wealth, compound mental effort transforms your brain's capabilities. Create a simple tracking system for your mental toughness practice. It could be as basic as marking X's on a calendar for each day you push through resistance. The visual record becomes motivating as you build streaks. Research shows that one of the strongest motivators for continuing a habit is not wanting to break an existing streak. Remember that mental strength, like physical strength, requires recovery periods. Build deliberate rest into your routine. This doesn't mean avoiding all challenges, but it does mean having periods of lower intensity. Without recovery, you risk burnout, which can set you back significantly. The best approach is to alternate between periods of intense challenge and strategic recovery. This creates a sustainable pattern that builds strength without exhaustion. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize something important. Forcing your brain to do hard things isn't about punishment or proving your worth. It's about freedom. True freedom comes from having options, and options come from capabilities. Each time you strengthen your mental muscles, you expand what's possible in your life. Think about what's waiting on the other side of the mental barriers you're facing right now. Better health, financial security, deeper relationships, career advancement, whatever it is, it's available to you if you're willing to push through the temporary discomfort of growth. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is unreliable and follows action, not the other way around. Start with the strategies I've shared today. Pick the one that resonates most and implement it immediately. Force your brain to do just one hard thing today, then another tomorrow, and another the day after that. The compound effect of these actions will transform not just what you can do, but who you become. Your brain will resist, that's normal, but remember, you are not your brain. You are the one who decides what your brain will do. Take control of that incredible tool between your ears and direct it toward the life you truly want. The ability to do hard things isn't just another skill. It's the master skill that makes all other achievements possible. And unlike many things in life, it's completely within your control, starting right now. What hard thing will you make your brain do today? Now, I want to share with you 7 specific mental exercises that will strengthen your brain's ability to tackle difficult tasks. These are practical drills you can start using today to build your mental muscles. The first exercise is what I call the first hour rule. How you spend the first hour of your day sets the pattern for everything that follows. Most people start their day reactively, checking emails or social media, which puts their brain in response mode rather than creation mode. Instead, use the first hour for your most challenging mental task. Your willpower and focus are strongest in the morning, before decision fatigue sets in. This simple shift creates a compounding effect. When you consistently tackle hard things first, your brain begins to accept this as normal. A CEO I worked with implemented this practice and completed a major business plan that had been sitting unfinished for months. He did it by working on it for just 45 minutes each morning before opening his email. The psychological momentum carried into the rest of his day, making him more decisive and focused. The second mental exercise is called forced learning. Commit to learning something moderately difficult that's outside your expertise. This could be a new language, a musical instrument, or a technical skill. The content matters less than the process of pushing through the early frustration phase of learning. Learning new skills creates what neurologists call cognitive reserve, extra neural pathways that make your brain more resilient and adaptable. Studies show that people who continuously learn new skills throughout life maintain better cognitive function and are more likely to recover from brain injuries. Set a specific time each week for this forced learning. Start with just 20 minutes twice a week and gradually increase. Your goal isn't mastery, but rather the process of mental stretching. You're literally building new neural connections with each practice session. The third exercise is single tasking. In our distracted world, the ability to focus deeply on one task has become rare and valuable. Start by selecting one important task and set a timer for 25 minutes. During this time, focus exclusively on that task. No phone, no email, no distractions. This practice, sometimes called the Pomodoro technique, trains your brain to sustain attention. It's like weight training for your focus muscles. Over time, you can extend the sessions to 45 or even 90 minutes, but start small to build confidence. What makes this exercise powerful is its simplicity. You're not trying to focus all day just for 25 minutes. Almost anyone can push through resistance for that short period. Yet these focus blocks, when accumulated, lead to remarkable productivity and strengthened neural pathways. The fourth mental exercise is idea generation. Set a timer for 10 minutes and force yourself to write down 20 ideas on any topic. It could be business opportunities, ways to solve a problem, or book topics. Anything that requires creative. The first 5-7 ideas will come easily. The middle section will be harder. The final few will require genuine mental strain. That's the point. You're pushing your brain past its normal creative limits, forcing it to make new connections. James Altucher, a successful entrepreneur and author, credits this daily practice with transforming his life after he lost everything. He calls it becoming an idea machine. The quality of the ideas doesn't matter at first. The practice of pushing past mental resistance is what builds your creative capacity. The fifth exercise is delayed gratification training. In today's world of instant rewards, the ability to delay gratification separates high achievers from everyone else. Start with small practicing. When you feel hungry, wait 15 minutes before eating. When you want to check social media, make yourself complete a task first. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment from the 1970s showed that children who could delay gratification waiting to eat a marshmallow to get two later had better life outcomes decades later, including higher SAT scores, better health, and more successful careers. You can systematically strengthen this ability. Start by identifying your most common impulses throughout the day. Create a small waiting period before satisfying each one. Gradually extend these waiting periods. You're teaching your brain that it can want something without immediately acting on that want. The sixth mental exercise is structured reflection. At the end of each day, spend 10 minutes writing answers to 3 questions. What went well today? What could I have done better? What will I do differently tomorrow? This practice forces your brain to extract lessons from experience rather than just moving on to the next thing. It creates a feedback loop that accelerates improvement in any area. It also builds self-awareness, which is essential for overcoming your specific patterns of resistance. William Deresiewicz, who taught at Yale University, noted that today's high achievers often reach advanced positions without ever developing true self-knowledge. They move so quickly from achievement to achievement that they never process their experiences. Structured reflection prevents this problem by forcing your brain to make meaning from daily events. The final mental exercise is opposite thinking. Take a belief or approach you currently hold and force yourself to argue the opposite case as compellingly as possible. This isn't about changing your mind. It's about developing mental flexibility and reducing cognitive rigidity. Military strategists use this technique to avoid being blindsided by unexpected moves from opponents. Business leaders use it to identify potential disruptions to their industry. You can use it to overcome the brain's tendency toward confirmation bias, only seeing evidence that supports what you already believe. Start with low-stakes topics before applying this to core beliefs. The goal is to develop the mental muscle of considering alternative perspectives, which makes your thinking more robust and your decisions more sound. As you implement these mental exercises, keep 3 principles in mind. First, consistency trumps intensity. A small daily practice creates more lasting change than occasional heroic efforts. Second, progress isn't linear. You'll have days when your brain seems more resistant than others. This is normal and not a sign of failure. Third, mental strength, like physical strength, is specific to what you train. Focus your efforts on the areas most important to your goals. I recommend selecting just 2 of these exercises to start with. Practice them consistently for 30 days before adding more. Track your progress in a simple journal. Note not just what you did, but how it felt. Over time, you'll see patterns emerge that reveal your particular forms of resistance. Remember that forcing your brain to do hard things isn't about becoming superhuman. It's about expanding your capabilities so you have more choices in life. Each time you push through resistance, you're telling yourself a new story about who you are and what you can accomplish. Eventually, that story becomes your reality. The question isn't whether you can do difficult things. You absolutely can. The question is whether you're willing to endure the temporary discomfort of growth to reach the life you truly want. I believe you are. Now prove me right.